Friends and family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. That would be Major News Network on Apple and also Android. And then if you go to Roku or you're on TVs, you'll see us there, American News Network. Well, I'm going to explain the Syrian War in detail for us today and also some other stuff that's been happening. But I want you to know that Belarus has been given the Oreshnik, and they have upgraded this weapon where it is not nuclear, but it's given you a 4,000 degrees Celsius thermobaric meltdown. So this is the new weapon of choice that Putin's going to use because it's non-radioactive. He's telling you it's very precise, and this is putting a warning on everywhere. Washington, D.C., all of the heads of NATO. This is what we're looking at, and it's Oreshnik, and he's probably going to give it to Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua. Be expecting us to do this, but Belarus has it right now. And so through Belarus, he can really threaten Poland on both sides through Kaliningrad, its enclave, and also through Belarus. But we have everybody joining the side. I also want to expose how Wagon Joe is also moving $5 billion. What? $5 billion of U.S. assets are going to be used in the Ukraine and in Syria. And as you know, it took 10 days for this other guy to throw over Bashar al-Assad. We have Turkey, Israel, and America bombing Syria right now. Now, how's this going to play for the U.S. and Israel in the long run? Did we just do another Omar Gaddafi move? Was this a trap set by Putin? What Trump said is absolutely correct. We need to completely not be involved, but sadly, we're very involved under Wagon Joe. We're moving $5 billion worth of assets. I'm going to add up some thievery. Since we've elected Trump, November 5th on, we now have $2.1 billion that went to the Ukraine and to Israel. Now $5 billion in more weaponry, and then another $8 billion aid package. Now, why does this piss me off? Why should it piss you off? Well, I put a package together, and I did the math on what would it cost me to buy every 107,000 U.S. veteran a 2-acre piece of property, build them a house and a home, put solar and wind on it, put water dehumidifiers on it so that the house produces its own electricity and water and heat. You can go to airtowater.info or worldsnest.com, and you could see this concept. And we build a lot of stuff sustainably, even out of waste materials. We come up with siding and insulation that's RF40 or better. And so for $10 billion, I could build every U.S. veteran a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home on 2 acres of property where they could have their own chickens, their own water, their own heating. To me, that's social security. It's national security. It's a peace of mind. And it would show us that we take care of ourselves. Why are we so concerned about the splinter that is in our brother's eye when there's a plank in our eye? You know, first we got to remove the plank from our eye so that we can see clearly enough to help our brother with his problem, with the splinter that's in his eye. So Tupac Shakur said it correct here in America. We have a war on poverty. How can we fix the world when we haven't fixed ourselves? And then we let other people in as if this is the place to live when we have 500,000 homeless U.S. citizens, 107,000 homeless U.S. vets. That's 607,000 homeless Americans. How can we spend another billion somewhere else until we fixed ourselves first? We need to first fix the speck that's in our eye. We need to end the war on poverty here with Americans before we load up on other people to just further sink our ship. Our politicians are getting threatened by Vladimir Putin. That's everybody in connection of Wagon Joe. That's Germany. That's France. They've crumbled. That's the United Kingdom. Keir Starmer's getting called out by Elon Musk, saying he's basically just a homo that's going to drive you into oblivion. Now, of course, Elton John, their rocket man versus our rocket man, Elon Musk, you tell me who you think's building the better rockets. But we have crime that's out of control. I wanted you to know, even on this thing that I'm explaining here behind you, is we have funded the Ukraine just inexorbitant amounts of money. And it's, 56 to $92 billion in aid. And I got to just go over this again. So the United States, with our laundromat over there in the Ukraine, and this is basically the Jewish part of Russia. They're all Russian Jews. That's why Mia and Roseanne Barr, I'm Russian Jewish. They are, just like Fiddler on the Roof. So all of our money is going to Jewish wars, whether it's in Israel. Now, I'm going to tell you, Assad's threatening Benjamin Netanyahu. He's going on a property grab here too. But we'll get into that later. And so that's what that is right there. And just think about all that money, $56 to $92 billion. And they think, even over in Europe, it's well known, this is the United States laundromat. Zelensky's termed out. So how are we giving a termed out man money? And two, Congress and the Senate have not voted for a war, and we've had U.S. casualties now confirmed by the Pentagon that U.S. troops are in fact dying. So this is a war. They haven't voted on the war, but yet we're moving $5 billion in United States Army and Marine equipment and gear to Syria and the Ukraine, while Camp Pendleton is 75% depleted. If this is not treason, I don't know what is. This man Zelensky is an actor. He's done a damn good job if you watch him do Napoleon. But why should we let their capital destroy ours? It shouldn't be permitted. It's a crime. And the relationship between Wagon Joe and Zelensky has crippled America. And for us to be sending right now $8 billion fast-tracked to the Ukraine when we could use that money instead to build every veteran a home, to where every American is housed through the winter. What is the Pentagon truly spending their money on? Will Vivek Ramaswamy, will Elon Musk, will Kash Patel make it? Because there's been so much money spent on the shadow government, and none of it's for good. We've had mercs that have been killed, exposed for the crimes that apparently America was going to be involved in. I want to be on a country that is being represented by good, not evil. If we're environmental activists, if the Democrats are, then we don't need to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. But how are we being guided? And so Russia and China respond by taking away the internet of Europe, at least 10% of it. Granted, if Elon Musk doesn't play with you, you're going to look even worse than that. But you have China and Russia working in tandem against us. I think all this drone stuff is our government throwing us off on the truth that we're going to have our ass handed to us, and that we've had U.S. casualties, and that our government is stealing so much money from us. That's why every business, from New York to California is empty. That's what happens when your government doesn't put money back into your own economy. The only jobs created have been overseas. Reagan would trickle down that economics into the communities. All of our money is being trickled into a war in Israel and the Ukraine. We even abandoned the war in Afghanistan. So Trump needs to come in and save the day, but Putin wanted to say, and here's his news front, he says, Trump, you're not going to be able to do peace in the Ukraine. What? This is a news flash right now. And the reason why is Putin plans on fully taking over the Ukraine before Trump can get into office. No one else is saying this. I am. We're spending $5 billion. Zelensky doesn't have a military anymore. 5 plus 8, $13 billion, which would house and home every veteran and have a $3 billion surplus. But we're giving it to a non-elected president. And Congress and the Senate is approving all this money to give it to a non-elected president while we have not voted to go to war. Congress and the Senate are violating their oath in office and their responsibility, their fiduciary responsibility to the United States, their oath and allegiance. Okay, and by having anybody with the dual citizen passport, what part about indivisible do you not understand? And because in our White House, so many people have joint Israeli or joint Irish U.S. passports. We have a Congress and a Senate that doesn't stand unified and only back in the red, white, and blue, and it shows. They wave these Ukrainian flags, these Israel flags in our House of Congress, and you're supposed to impress me? Doesn't impress me. I think every single one of you is violating publicly Article 2, Section 4 bribery in the United States of America and should therefore lose your job. If you've ever held a Ukrainian flag and waved it in the halls of the United States Congress or worn their little lapel pin, you should lose your job. You're part of the reason why they just stole $13 billion from Americans, why we've never looked so bad since the Great Depression. Every business is shut down. The only two cities I've seen that are thriving in America has been Dallas, Texas, and Manhattan. Why is that? Parts of South Dakota look great, but other than that, it's we are losing it in a big way. So we put $56 to $92 billion in the Ukraine since Wagon Joe, and we're going to let him drain us to zero, and that's fine with you, huh? It's not fine with me. So even though Turkey and America with Israel, we're all pounding Syria right now, Turkey is giving a warning to Israel. Yeah. And the guy that took it over, he is Al-Qaeda 2.0. Yeah, no kidding. So Al-Qaeda, basically, this goes back to Clinton-Obama funding and training. But I'm going to get in and break into the war and basically who we're funding, what's going on, and why. And this thing is divided into 7 different, basically, factions and countries, and I'm going to let you know that. 7. So, like Trump said, we need to pull out, but instead Wagon Joe's contributing $5 billion. So we're going to zoom into Syria right here now. This could be a tremendous big land grab for Israel, okay? But what we're seeing here is that we have the red, and that's been Assad's area. The green right up here, the Hayat Tan al-Sham, this is Al-Qaeda, okay? And basically, they have been taking a lot of momentum. It is a Muslim momentum. And he pushed down and in 10 days took over Assad, went down and took over Damascus. And he has pushed throughout the coast. And then we bombed all of the Navy and Air Force. Syrian government's gone, but this is a trifecta, keep in mind, that has had Russia and Iran behind it. Okay, we took out the choppers, all that stuff has been addressed. So the main faction moving down right now is basically hardcore Al-Qaeda. Now, in Syria itself, I want you to understand we have ISIS in pockets, and then we are interested, the United States, up in that north east corner in yellow up there. Okay, so that's the Christian Kurds. Now, we're interested in it also because of oil and gas. But in red right here is this Assad regimen that just died out. And down here, we have an infiltration coming in. But this has been a stronghold, like I said, with Iran and Russia backing Lebanon and Syria. And so we see this falling out. but it's being taken over, in my opinion, by the Muslim forces of Turkey. Now, over here with the Kurds, these are Christians, and we're backing them in U.S., but again, we're backing them because of oil. A lot of people don't know that. Getting it out of there is a very difficult thing. ISIS is hanging out there thanks to Obama, but then north in those little pockets, that's actually Turkey and their Muslim Turkish that are now with ISIS over here. And so this new Turkish ISIS resistance force is slammed down. Okay, and they're going to call it whatever they want. I'm going to call it Al-Qaeda. So it's Al-Qaeda. They have U.S. technology and Russian technology, and that's why they're handing it to the forces. We trained them. We trained them with Al-Qaeda. They are kind of working in an alliance with the Turkish people, and it's been to protect the border of Turkey. Okay, so they're calling it the Syrian National Army, but then they flipped, and they flipped on the side of Turkey. Okay, so this is the war front. Now, there are pockets inside of here. This is ISIS. And we just bombed literally the holy crap out of them last night. And this is a joint force task force between the United States and Israel. And then there are other rebel groups here. But so we went and attacked them. Now, big controversy right here is the Golan Heights, this mountain range between Israel and Damascus. In 1967, during the Six-Day War, they think that they have the rights to have it. I'm going to say, you know what, give it to them. They need it to protect a mountainside coming into now a lost government. But in my opinion, will Netanyahu want to take over all of Syria? He's showed that on a map as well. Again, we have 7 different factions that are fighting for Syria here now. The smartest thing we could do is to completely not be involved. Even Israel attacking Lebanon, all of these countries are much older than America. The Assad family has been in control for 50 plus years, 51 years down here. And so this dictator has fallen, but I'll remind you, we saw Gaddafi fall, we saw Saddam Hussein fall, and in both cases it didn't help us. Literally the areas broke out into massive civil war. Now, if we let this be the birthplace for World War III, understand it's a huge, huge pickup for Israel. And that's what we're seeing right here. So we have a lot of countries that are fighting over this. We have the USA, we have back in the Kurds, and that's our only involvement. But we have Turkey and Saudi and Qatar and all these rebel groups that are participating. We got ISIS. Everybody's against ISIS, so we say. But the Kurds are the only Christians that remain alone out there, and I want you to think about this. So those are the things that were actually going on right now from all these multiple sources and areas. So I hope that kind of updates us, and the smartest thing we could do is completely not be involved in this at all. I mean, have we seen it coming? We saw this coming for so long. Basically, Sacha Baron Cohen has been making fun of this in Wadia, a little Wadia, since the beginning of time. And, it's kind of like this scene right here. And in my opinion, it was a cross between Assad. And so if you're going to be looking for Assad, look at the many different faces of Sacha Baron Cohen and understand that's Assad. He could be living in your town next. So we have a lot of dictators. There's Zelensky. He's going to be living in Miami, going through the cheesecake factories of the United States, and then Benjamin Netanyahu as well. And if you think that's bad, I want you to understand something. Hitler made it down to Argentina and lived his final days down there. And we know that the person that took a bullet to the head that was burnt in the tunnels was in fact a 40-year-old woman. And so even Hitler got to escape down to Argentina and live the rest of his days. And so we have the architects of war, the very architects, whether it's Silverstein for 9/11 or whether it's Zelensky working with Biden and Netanyahu with BlackRock. They're all going to get pardoned. Okay, and so is the Biden crime family syndicate. And I think pardoning Biden Hunter was the first one, so we could pay attention and squabble on that one, while he all then does blanket pardons for the whole entire family. So Wadia has been working with, maybe you could look at it like maybe he's even been working with Jack Wagon Joe, and maybe he's even taken a hiatus. We're going to see a lot of dictators finally come to an end, because we only have 41 more days of dictatorship here in the United States of America. We're all being held hostage by Jack Wagon Joe, as he just somehow got another $8 billion to the people of the Ukraine. And it'd be nice if they could receive it, but they're not. They're getting war weaponry instead of food and aid and comfort. And they're being forced into a war, and there's like no Ukrainian men left. And in Israel, that's a one-bomb scenario, and Iron Dome has been completely saturated. So I've given the facts and figures on what we're facing. NATO is falling apart. They used to have Turkey. They don't anymore. And a lot of people are seeing the sense in Putin and the criminality in Jack Wagon Joe. And so now we have lost every ally that we have had just in one administration. And it's like the world has lost faith in America so much they're not even going to wait for Trump. And I'm saying that because Putin is not waiting for Trump to come into office to fix the crimes in the Ukraine. And the Oreshnik now has a different kind, I'm going to call it not a neutron bomb, but it has a thermobaric package that hits 4,000 degrees Celsius. And it just melts everybody. And it's the accuracy, he said, of this weapon. So it's not about how big it is, it's direct kills where he can take out decision makers directly. So I'm gonna say we're gonna see this being used on people like maybe Zelensky and Netanyahu. I'm gonna say that he was given a direct threat to the Capitol and to U.S. politicians with this weapon, and also U.S. strategic bases that are close to Russia, and also U.S. bombers, all that kind of stuff. And he announced that he had 500 of these scheduled for an immediate attack. There you go. So, I mean, understand this whole entire Assad thing is coming to an end, but we've seen the many faces of Assad. Here, President Trump is with Assad at least 8 years ago. And so, again, he's going to be in disguise. Assad has many disguises. And these dictators are very good at making disguises. So you need to be on the lookout for a guy that looks like, who's talking to the president. Oh, speaking of which, they caught the shooter, so they say. Had all these screws in his backbone. Had all this pain. Now, is that a patsy, or did they catch the right guy? Did they catch somebody with the gun story and a 3D printed gun story so that they could talk more about gun control? Now, I'm going to bring that up because in Canada, they're taking your guns. Oh, yeah, not only are they taking your money, they're going to take your guns. Oh, well, you got this kind and it can eject too quickly. Oh, you got this kind and it can do this and protect you from us. No. You need to become the 51st state, kick your lame-ass government out, and we need to kick our government out that doesn't understand that the Second Amendment gives our freedom to have arms. Doesn't list AR-15s. It said arms. That means cannons, lasers, whatever we can use to protect us from you. And so there you go. That's Assad talking with President Trump even long ago. On a lighter note, Trump goes back with everybody. So let's see here. I think everybody's trying to kiss up to Rocket Man. So Trump goes, when he goes to France and he pays his respect to God, I noticed that the Bidens, who'd they sit next to? You can tell who they voted for. And even when I was at 9/11 on the anniversary, Jack, Wagon Joe, and Jill and Trump were getting along famously, where they couldn't even talk to Kamala, probably because there's nothing ever to say. Anyways, what we have is we have Trump going around right now being the president. So he has talked to France. He's going out feeling world situations everywhere he's going. And that's just well understood. So Biden, I think, is laundering as much money as possible because, again, we could even see Jill cozying up next to our orange man good with watermelon nuggets. Them good old watermelon nuggets, I'll even say they're good even from Kentucky Fried. Okay, now let's see what else we got going on here. So this was in Notre Dame, and it looks beautiful. And again, beta male of France, Macron, he was talking. But what the world was paying attention to, in my opinion, was the body language of the Bidens and Trump. At least that's what I was paying attention to. And then also how Macron was sucking up to Trump. But he's ran out of money, just like we're about to. And just like Canada's going to, and we need to hold these criminals accountable for their crimes. Sure, we can let people pardon themselves and various things, but what about in the case of treason? You know, the way Obama left that equipment in Iraq, it's hitting Israel today. It's hitting our troops today, and they did get murdered. Our troops got hit with Obama's presence, but he was able to seal his records for the crimes, even his crimes in the future today. Same thing's going to happen with Afghanistan, with Miley getting a pardon, with General Lloyd Austin. In fact, I can see pardons for this entire Biden cabinet. And I see that they have worked unilaterally with Israel in the Ukraine to rob every dollar that we've had that we will work for, and to steal all of our war weaponry to defend another country, whether they were innocent or guilty, at the cost of our own country. Zelensky is a perfect actor. He's a puppet. He was even there at this event. He has so much freedom while they kidnap Ukrainian men going to the grocery store and throw them on the front lines so that fathers die. And there's been over 200,000 Ukrainian men that have surrendered this month. I hope Russia treats them well. I hope Zelensky and our government stops meddling, stops trying to nuclear arm a country right next to Russia. We need to practice peace, not war. We need to follow, if we're a country of Christians, we need to act as such. But what I'm seeing ever since Obama's time on is something satanic. I'm even seeing that with Macron. Many people think that his wife is a man, just like Obama's was. And Trans-America has ruined America and France. How did the Olympics go for you? I boycotted them because of it. So the streets of Syria, I just want you to know that they're celebrating But I don't want U.S. troops and kids to die over it. We have had the Pentagon now come forward to say that, in fact, U.S. troops have been killed. I told you they were cannon fodder. We have not voted to go to war. The situation has existed for over 2 years. We even had Heels Up Harris say that we didn't have people in active battle scenarios when clearly we have troops getting killed out there. Our Navy's taking casualties. We've had 2 battleships that have been hit. But we're not at war, supposedly. We have a president that's so inept, he couldn't even run for another term, but we're going to give him the keys to start World War III. We're giving him the keys to steal $8 billion this week, $2 billion the previous week. While all of our veterans are going to freeze out in the cold while we drug them up with drugs so that perhaps they'll die instead of live a happy, productive life. We got 41 days that we're all going to be held captive here together, you and I, and there's Belarus. He's getting Oreshnik. All the Baltic states, you've been put on notice. I'm believing that Germany, the United Kingdom, and France, you guys are on high notice, and so are we here in the United States, because we've been messing with KGB. That'd be Vladdy P., Colonel Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. And he has been very peaceful and has transformed the old Soviet Union into something to where everybody went from being poor to where I see millionaires all over the beaches of Greece and Italy and Spain. So he's been a good president, and he has built up Russia. Even the areas that were hit are already built up. Today, our streets in the United States, in every single blue-run state, looks as if a war has already happened. The homeless are out of control. The dead, the dying are everywhere. The jobs have left because all we're investing in is war. Again, Belarus is ready to hit everybody around them, and the bromance is on strong with North Korea donating 1.1 million extra troops to Vladimir Putin. So they have an army that is in excess of over 6.5 million active people ready to push in and take over Europe right now. Even NATO, with the 500,000 to 800,000, stands at a good disadvantage of 6 million troops. These are now troops of Hamas, troops of Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia. This war has already been won before it starts, and this is just a heads up with it. Our only option is to go nuclear, and they know that. These are all smoke bombs that Wagon Joe is going to try to do as quick as possible into as many countries as possible so that he can do a diversion with us while he's stealing all of our money. That's what all this UFO stuff is. It's a diversion. Most of these UFO have navigation lights on them, so don't be worried. What you should be worried about is that we just moved $5 billion of military assets from the Army and the Marines to Syria and the Ukraine. That is the news they don't want you to pay attention to. My name is Chris Sanders. This is the American News Network. I want us to be updated. If you know of any extra news that's happening, understand that Belarus has now announced to the world that he is not to be messed with. Do not mess with Putin. And he's ready to pound and ground. So is North Korea. And these weapons are all brand new, unlike ours. Ours are going 0.75 Mach. Theirs are going Mach 10. This war has already ended before it's begun. Everybody's lying about the facts, about the technology, about what Putin is holding in his hands, not with just Oreshnik, but with Sarmat, with Poseidon. We are outgunned, and we have a government that is lying, and our future is at stake here. So hopefully he's going to have a lot of leniency on us. But as far as Germany and France and the United Kingdom, you guys really need to cool it. You're really screwing around with the next door neighbor that could take you out immediately. I don't know how far he's going to take it, but I'd like to thank Putin for not showing his demonstration of power here in the United States yet. This is a wake-up call. I guarantee you he landed these things in Cuba. So that puts every single Gulf thing from Houston, San Antonio, Miami, everything's on the map. Understand that. God bless each and every one of you, and thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. Okay, so I'll just end it with this, and understand that we're being held hostage for 41 more days here in the United States of America. God bless you, and amen.